here. Good morning, may we bring you cheer.
We've got time, we've got tunes, we've got time, tunes, and temperature.
Get up and go, it's today, you know, on KSCO Radio.
Good morning. I'm Alan Masters, sitting in for Michael Zwerling. It is the Saturday special, and today we've got a special guest host with me, Bo Hansen, professional fisherman and organic farmer. We're going to talk about life. We'll be right back.
Good morning, now stay right here on KSCO Radio.
Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Alan Masters, back again, sitting in for Michael Zwerling, who is zwirling down the road with his friend on a momentary day off. God bless him. He needs a day off. Happy birthday, too. Happy birthday to Michael Zwerling. He asked me to sit in for him today, and I am so happy to do it. Last time I was on, I felt like I had an incredible reaction from you, the audience, you folks listening, you guys and gals and crocodiles and everything else that's out there. You folks really have a lot to say, and I absolutely loved it. And when he said, you want to sit in for me? And I said, absolutely. I don't care that I only have half a voice. Like Rush used to say, I'll do the show with half my voice. In his case, it was half his brain tied behind his back, but half my voice tied behind my back. And but today I brought a friend of mine who I've only known for a short time. His name is Bo Hansen. He's a professional fisherman and organic farmer. And he came to an event that I put on called The Reckoning to help us out a little bit. His mother and father, or stepfather, are working there with us. And gosh, I became instant friends with this young guy, 34 years old. Bo, how you doing, man?
I am blessed and highly favored, Alan.
Blessed and highly favored. Let me turn your mic up a little bit. So this is a live radio show, and you folks probably know the phone number. I actually didn't write it down. I'll get it for you and give it out in a minute. But I want to talk to Bo for a minute about life and what he's been doing. And because if you recognize the area, of course, Santa Cruz, Monterey, Salinas, Watsonville, basically Silicon Valley, up and down the coast, Pebble Beach, a lot of professional fishermen there and a lot of farmers. So these are your peeps, man.
They're my peeps.
They're your peeps. But I have a question for you. Why did you decide to peel away from the world and go, professional fishermen like 24 hours a day for this little window? And then when you're not doing that, you're organic farming, living off the grid, kind of living, I don't know, can I call it a secluded life?
Yeah, I definitely call it secluded from people, but very involved with gardening and the plants and animals. So it's been a calling, it's been a pull for me to get off and to be self-sustainable.
Why though? I mean, where was your moment of reflection that you said, I got to change my life? Because these things happen to people where they're living their life one day, and you were going to be an NFL football player, as I remember.
That was a dream, yeah.
And then you had an injury that kind of obviously made you take a few minutes to reflect on life. Was it then? Was it after you recovered? Because it took you quite a while to recover from the injury.
Yeah, it was definitely during the recovery process. I'm a very hyperactive person, and I have to be doing something. And when I was injured, I couldn't physically do anything. So my brain became very hungry for knowledge. And I kind of woke up to what was going on in the world and how truth is much stranger than fiction. And it led to, from food to the medical industry, to the government, to the media, everything kind of working together in this mirage of reality. And I didn't want to be a part of it anymore. And I felt tied to it. I felt like I was chained like a slave. And the only way to not feel that way was to not rely on any of it. and how to produce your own food and energy. And it's quite the feeling of freedom.
How many of you out there feel that same way right now, watching what is going on with the supply chain being interrupted, the price of fuel, and I'm sure down near Pebble Beach and some of the areas of the Bay Area there, it's got to be $5 or more a gallon for gasoline. And, the price of, what are they saying right now? Beef, pork, any kind of, pretty much everything is up quite a bit. And all of a sudden we're going, wow, this is just a little hiccup. This thing is a little hiccup, but look what this hiccup is doing to our entire world. I mean, really, at the end of the day, this really is a hiccup. There's a lot of manipulation going on, and what do they say? Absolute power corrupts, and power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And we've got this absolute power corrupting absolutely right now. And I don't know how people can see what is going on in our country and not live in total fear at this moment, which I don't live in fear because I have been preparing as I started seeing this coming, as the old movie Something Wicked This Way Come. I saw this coming for the last year and a half when all these games started being played, the masking of faces and the potential of some sort of a vaccine. I remember going, that scares me, but instead of being scared and sitting there sucking my thumb until it's raw, I actually decided to start doing something about it. I started preparing my life. And I bought a nice generator for my house and for the ranch that we have, and, which makes like 3 generators out there at the ranch. But I started thinking to myself, what if? I went for that what if scenario. And so I thought, I'd rather be looking at it than for it. Same thing goes with food and food storage and what have you. And then people started going, kind of like, I imagine what Noah may have heard when he was preparing the ark. You know what I mean? What are you doing up there? Yeah, quit it. You're just crazy. And so some of the friends say, oh, you're crazy. And one of my friends says to me, zero for what are you? Something about you're 0 right now with all of your predictions. I'm like, I'm a 0 right now? You don't see what is going on in this country? You don't really, you don't feel it in your pocketbook. You don't feel it when you are running out of toilet paper and you go down to the place and there's none. You're like, was the toilet paper caper the thing that kind of made you think supply chain is kind of important? There's not enough toilet paper to go around. Was it really that? Is that what it took? For me, that was just kind of the icing on the cake. The toilet paper caper, I call it. But I don't know. So for you, when this started happening, Bo Hansen, was it like, yep, I knew this was coming? Oh,
totally. It's 12 years ago when this process started for me, I was very much outspoken about it, especially to my friends and my family. And a lot of them mocked and laughed at me. And it's gone through this process. And I kind of stuck with it and learned incredibly. I 99 acres off the grid completely. Raising 2 children. We were probably about 85% off the grid, 100% energy off the grid. And some things happened, and I was pushed back into the world just a little bit momentarily. But now it's very interesting because these same people that were laughing at me in the last 2 years now are calling me for advice. What do I do?
Right.
What do I do? What do I do? Where do I go? Like, can I come to you if something happens? And I tell them the best I can, but I can't let someone's failure to prepare be an emergency for me and my family.
Right.
So the food chain is so fragile in this nation because things are shipped so drastically over long distances. And we're seeing the food rise right now, the price of food, not because of the farmers are demanding more money. It's the food supply doesn't exist. It's so scarce right now. And the highest bidder is getting the food. And the truckers, the truckers are half full. They're losing money on every single load right now. It's when are they going to just stop? When did they have to say, okay, I got to cut my losses and I can't work?
Right. By the way, the phone number is 831-479-1080 if you want to call in. 831-479-1080. I'm Alan Masters, sitting in for MZ, who is, I hope, listening. And I wanted to say again, happy birthday to the guru of the Saturday special. I'm sitting in for Michael. And Bo Hansen is my guest. We're just talking about this gigantic lie that we're all having to live in right now. I cannot remember who said this. It says, tell a lie, keep it simple, tell it over and over again, and they will believe it. I think it was Goebel.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it was Goebel.
And people are more apt to believe a big lie, a very big. The bigger the lie, the more apt they are to believe it.
Well, and the thing is that this is actually a pretty simple lie. I mean, it's a big, big lie, but it's pretty simple if you think about it, because all of our lives, we've had the flu shots, we've had the polio shots, we've had all the, the people are kind of used to taking the shot for this, the shot for that, the shot for this. But all of a sudden, this vaccine, which really isn't really a vaccine, it's really kind of a big, we're guinea pigs and it's a test. It's a test shot. That's why people call it the jab. But all of a sudden, well, you don't want to get that COVID thing. Take this jab and you won't get it. Well, how many of you know people that have taken the jab and still got COVID? I know a lot. I know some that have taken the jab and died. I know another person that's a co-host of another show that I do whose wife decided to take it. He didn't take it. His wife decided to take it. And she had kind of, a little bit of hip problem going on. And ever since she took that jab, it escalated the hip problem, and now she's in such pain. She's laying around crying and moaning and groaning, and she needs to get a hip replacement. It escalated the problem. I was watching something this morning. Somebody sent me about a bicycle racer. He's kind of a off-road bicycle racer, mountain bike racer. And he got the jab, and, of course, now he's got inflammation of the heart and all these other problems. And it's just, to me, I personally don't want to take the chances. I'll take the chances with the COVID. I already had COVID, and it sucked. I will tell you that. But getting the flu sucks. Having my gallbladder out, it sucked. But, we're going to have these things in life that suck. But I don't want to bring them on myself by taking some experimental jab that God really knows what's going to happen in the long term with all these things they're injecting into our body. I personally ain't going to do it. So if you do it, that's your call. But I got to tell you, the more time that goes by, the more the truth is unveiled about what's going on with this whole jab. Scares the living hell out of me. What about you? 831-479-1080. I'm going to try to go to the phones here and talk to Steve in Pacific Grove. If it doesn't work, Dave, do me a favor and help me out. I'm going to hit it. Here we go. Steve, are you there? Pacific Grove?
Yeah, it's called patience, patience, patience. When you're dealing with lies and misdirections and you're right, you have to have patience. Am I wrong on that point?
I completely agree. But along with the patience, it's called patient endurance as well. Because the patience, you start to get impatient and you go, well, now what do we do? We've been waiting, but nothing is happening and nobody's listening to us. Then you start to look like Chicken Little. The sky is falling. Okay, these are the people that are what we'll call the conspiracy theorists. That, oh, by the way, all their conspiracy theories have all come true. But you got to have the endurance to go along with it, and patience, but patient endurance.
You got a point there.
Yes.
When you know you're right,
That's
you
right.
stick with it.
That's correct.
If you know you're right and you're not picking on anybody or doing anybody wrong.
That's right.
If you're doing the right thing, there's a lot to be said for you, and you have a clear conscience. I think clear conscience is what I'm trying to get my point across.
Right.
I mean, all these guys that are trying to make you do all these crazy stuff. If you're a nice person and you do the right thing, you've got nothing to worry about. What do you think?
No, I agree. And here's the thing. I was talking with Bo this morning. We start texting back and forth early. And a lot of people, they are willing to die for what they believe. We've heard this before. And I always say, but are you willing to live for what you believe? So you still got to go out into your life, into the world, and you have to deal with people, but you can't do to them what they're doing to you. You can't hate them, judge them, resent them for their point of view. And even if they start yelling at you, like what's that kid, that young kid that that sued CNN and won? I can't think of his name, but the people were all yelling at him, and he just sat there with a smile on his face.
Oh, the Christian guy, the guy with the knuckle, yeah.
Yes.
Christian Center, yeah.
Whatever his name was, I remember watching the look on that kid's face because he knew in his heart he was doing nothing wrong. He was doing what he believed was right in his heart in that moment. And he sat there with patient endurance. And he endured the unjust attack he was getting from all the people at that event, whatever that was. And in the end, he ends up winning because justice will be served in one way or the other. Now, I'm sure he won a ton of money. They kept all that private. But the justice was that boy, he walked away intact because he wasn't affected and moved by the wickedness in the world. He sat there with his convictions and just smiled, kind of a gentle little smile at the unjust attacks he was getting. But he walked away a better man, a better young man. What is that man's life going to be like, that young man, as he grows into a full-grown man because he stood for what he believed was right? And now as he continues on his path, I think he was only like 17 years old, and as he continues on his path in life, when he's 20 and 25 and 30, if he keeps standing up for what he knows is right in his heart, what God puts in his heart, he will turn out to be the kind of leader that we need in our lives. It's standing up for what you believe with patient endurance and not falling into the trap of getting angry and yelling back and getting into a fist fight. And not that you don't have, sometimes you have to fight literally for what you believe. But in this case that we're in right now, when people are cruel and rude and nasty, and you walk into a store and somebody yells at you because you don't have your mask on, which, they're wearing theirs everywhere they go, and you decided, you know what, I'm okay, it's not required, so I'm going to do it. And then somebody yells at you, you just look at them and smile. Let it roll off your back like water off a duck's back.
What's that spirit of fear?
Hey, can I interject one point?
Yes.
You're absolutely right. There's a lot of folks that believe the same way you do, and all the guys that are getting crazy about all the mask stuff, there's so many people that want to let this stuff go. I mean, if you're going to die, you're going to die. That's the way it is.
That's right.
That's unfortunately the way life goes. You're going to die.
Yep.
But as far as hiding your face, hiding your kid's face, and being part of the team, doesn't matter. It means a lot more as far as being a life force and kicking some doggone booty. And I agree with everything you said there, partner.
Thank you very much, Steve.
Thank you very much for taking my call.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate that. That's awesome. All right, the phone number 831-479-1080. I'm Alan Masters, sitting in for MZ today. Also, my friend Bo Hansen here, professional fisherman and organic farmer, and God-loving wild man that he is. We're walking this journey through life together and enjoying each other's company and exchanging ideas about life. We come from two different worlds. He's a young guy, and I'm kind of an old guy. He's 34, I'm 61. But you know what? The one thing that is ageless is the spirit. So when we're talking from this position of, the flesh is just, a vehicle right now. Our bodies are just a vehicle to get us from point A to point B. I want to make it to point B, which is to return to my Father in heaven. I want to finish well, and I want to bring as many people with me as I can. And so as I go through my life, I talk about this stuff. Bo, is that same for you, right?
Oh man, not only I talk about it, I try to live it.
Live it, of course.
I try to be an example. I try to serve. I just try to serve and be a leader that way.
Yep. All right, here's another topic we should just talk about for a moment. And this is in the news, so let's just talk about something that I find absolutely appalling. Start that again. Non-binary. What does non-binary mean? That means
it means it doesn't identify as either gender.
Right. I thought it had something to do with cows. Anyway, non-binary professor seeks to normalize pedophilia. You ready for this? This non-binary assistant professor at Old Dominion University is trying to normalize the term MAP, M-A-P. You know what that stands for? Minor attracted persons. That means exactly what it is. A person that is attracted to minors, pedophilia. Non-binary, and I'm reading this, queer professor Alan Walker, A-L-L-Y-N, Alan Walker, advocates for pedophiles to be called minor attracted persons. What do you feel about that? I mean, that is shocking, is it not?
It is. It's just the last step. And it's interesting because I was talking about this 10 years ago when there was really the push for the sexual perversion in this country. And the final step is really normalizing pedophilia. And we've seen this in past governments and empires. And it's always the last thing that happens before they come crashing down to nothing. What
they want to do is they want to normalize, they want to come up with a word and normalize this pedophilia, this wickedness, minor attracted persons. What in the living hell is going on with this country and this world? Anyway, what do you guys think about that? 831-479-1080. What is happening in our world? They're trying to normalize all of this sick, this perversion that is happening. Let's go to Aptos and talk to John. John, thanks for hanging on there and calling us here at KSCO.
I appreciate you getting me on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say, I don't mean to be disrespectful or anything, but did you ever read the book by Eric Hoffer? He was a longshoreman in San Francisco. He wrote a book called The True Believer.
No.
Yeah, basically he was a great guy, longshoreman. He wrote this philosophical book. He talked about people who are just so convinced in what they believe, whether it be right or wrong, that they actually became dangerous to themselves and to society. And one thing I've noticed about you when you come on the radio is you are really strong in your convictions. And, be that for what it may, but like for this masking and the vaccine thing, you just are 100% convinced that the government and all the scientists at all the universities and at the Center for Disease Control are wrong and that they're somehow trying to delude us. You're just 100% convinced of that. And what I see is I think a lot of people start from a political point of view. In this case, Trump, I think, started this whole anti-mask thing. They start from a political point of view, and then they justify their scientific conclusions about the virus and all to fit their political point of view, not the scientific point of view. And, I used to listen to your dad and stuff, but he was really strong in his convictions. And sometimes when people are so strong, right, left, I don't care where they're coming from, it kind of scares me. I think a little skepticism is a healthy trait. Anyway, that's all I have to say. But anyway, I'll keep listening.
Okay, good. Thank you for your thoughts on that, John. I'm 100% convicted in what I believe. I'll agree with that. Gary, let's go to Gary, who's been waiting on the line. Gary, what say you?
Hey, Alan. Good to hear you again. When I was in the military, there was a term called defilade, which was I was a tank driver, and when you'd come up a hill, you would just barely poke over the hill just to where you could see. And that position was called defilade. And people nowadays, they have their heads in what I call rectal defilade. It's amazing. From the time the vid started, and I looked into it, and I was convinced then that it was a pile of hooky.
Yep. Never
taken a shot, never will, and never wore a mask except inside where I had to.
Right.
And riding my bike up in Wilder here, and people coming down the trail wearing masks on their bicycles, and I just thought, this world has gone insane. Your guest, I really appreciate hearing him self-reliance is now a evil word in this country.
Right.
And self-reliance is no longer practiced by most people. I've been doing it since, I don't know, my whole life almost, really. My dad was a Depression-era kid, and I kind of got, the Depression era of using everything and being reliant on yourself. So I really started to be, even though I live in town, I have had everything, that I need in order to be. I'm not off the grid, unfortunately, yet, but I'm working on it. But
well, you know what, Gary?
yeah. So
I got to tell you, I only know self-reliance. I only know that. It's what my father taught me, and it is like it's just me, and I'm not apologizing for being self-reliant. I am so thankful to God in heaven that I know what I know. My mother-in-law used to say, "I know this. This I know." And I was like, okay, I'm not going to mess with that. So to that caller that, told me I was pretty darn sure of myself, I'm sad for him because he's damn right. I'm 100% sure of myself like you, Gary. And by the way, Gary, God bless you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service in the military. Thank you. Just appreciate that.
Well, I'll tell you, the other thing I wanted to mention was you've heard of the term divide and conquer.
Right.
And if you just take a look at I've been following the left for many years, and what they do is they'll take an issue and they'll divide it into minuscule pieces, like they do with the LGBT,
Sure.
SURUV.
Right.
They divide it into innumerable pieces so that there's just controversy. And what it does is it subdivides, and you take a look at everything they do, and they subdivide everything into pieces so that people are fighting amongst themselves, even in the supposedly same agreement. They're dividing among themselves, over this. So, I mean, the whole country is in many cases divided.
Do you know why?
In
Because
so many different ways.
united we stand, divided we fall. It's what they're doing. Yes, it's what they're doing to us.
Absolutely.
God bless you, brother.
All I can
Thank
say
you.
anymore,
Yep.
people with degrees are dangerous, so you have to watch out for some of them. Anyway, have a good one.
All right. Thank you very much, Gary. Let's go to Greg calling in. Greg calling in from Santa Cruz. I'm Alan Masters, and my friend Bo Hansen joining me here on the Saturday special, sitting in for MZ. What's going on, Greg?
Good morning. Well,
Morning to you.
there's an old statement. This is for the caller before, as far as your strong opinions, and it goes something like this: certainty is one of the surest signs of insanity. If you're certain of something in this world, because 100% certain, because there's so many things we don't know, and I found sometimes people with strong opinions. I mean, I'm not getting the vaccine, but I'm not sure that everything they're saying to me is a lie, though I don't trust the pharmaceutical companies, period. I don't trust their motives. But I wanted to talk about a situation locally. A friend of mine who's a health practitioner, she came down with COVID a couple months ago, and she started tanking up on vitamin D3.
Right.
And, they say the vitamin D is one of the most important things to keep you from getting that, inflammation.
Right.
Which, makes it difficult to breathe.
Sure.
And so she, from what I hear, the course of this virus, whatever it is, the 7th or 8th day is when you really get sick. And it supposedly stops replicating after like 10 days. Now, she went into Dominican because she was, I've had the flu myself where, if someone said, do you want to die? I wouldn't care one way or the other, just sweating day and night, can't walk really, dizzy. And she was able, at least to drive her car around and, go to the hospital. And at the hospital, she asked for the monoclonal antibodies.
Right.
And they said, we need a prescription for that. and you need to go to some outpatient or doctor and get that. And she went to, I don't know if she went to Doctors on Duty or where she went. They wouldn't give her a prescription. The emergency room, at the hospital wouldn't give her a prescription. Finally, she knew a nurse who worked there, and she was telling the nurse about the dilemma, and the nurse gave her the antibodies off record. She got them, and the next day she said, I didn't feel perfect, but I felt quite well, relatively.
Right.
And the point I'm trying to make is that there seems to be a conspiracy to not treat this thing early. It's one of the only diseases that they told you to wait till you're deathly ill, to get any treatment. And I'm saying, what the heck is that about? Because so many doctors I've seen on videos that say early treatment is the best way to tackle this stuff.
It is. And
so, why the hell are they discouraging people from getting these antibodies? So that's kind of what I wanted to say. It just doesn't smell right to me.
No, well, so
Okay.
your sniffed test is correct. When I got it, I was sick for, a number of days, and then it got to the point where I was watching my oxygen levels, and when it got down to 90, I thought, all right, that's pretty low. So I went to this little tiny hospital in Ashland, Oregon, where I live in Oregon, and they gave me the monoclonal antibodies, and I started feeling better immediately. I stayed in the hospital for 5 more days to take something else that I regret taking. I can't remember what it is. But I remember thinking to myself, yes, remdesivir. And now we find out
which is very toxic.
Very toxic. Thank God that I'm a healthy guy. And thank God that I've been taking minerals through, actually, if you call Dave at the Dave Cave, he'll sell you the same minerals that I'm taking from Doc Wallach. And I started taking minerals. My wife started taking minerals. And then I started taking all this different stuff. Bo, don't you take some of the stuff that Doc Wallach sells?
Yeah, I have in the past. I've taken his multi-supplement, Tangy Tangerine, Beyond Tangy Tangerine.
Right. So there's a lot of good products out there. But you know what, people? We got to get ourselves healthy. Our problem is we live these decadent lifestyles. The more rich the food, the better. The more you spend for your food, the better. You want to get this, what do they call that? That kind of beef that they don't even, Wagyu, right? This friend of mine says, we're going to get some Wagyu beef. We went and had a hamburger. It was $250 for a hamburger. And I thought, oh, that is so decadent. It's like.
Well, there's a phrase, it's called more money than brains.
There you go. There you go. Hey, listen, our lines are stacking up here. Listen, I agree with you. I agree with you. Go ahead.
Early treatment, anybody who comes down with this, man, and taking vitamin D3 and at least 10,000 units a day. I mean, that's what Fauci takes. He takes 10,000 units of D3.
Right. Yep. Oops, I hung up on him by accident. By golly, I pushed the button prematurely. But he's right. I take 10,000 units a day of D3. I also take zinc. I take the minerals that I got from Doc Wallach. I take vitamin C. I take all kinds of different things every single day. Let's go to Dean. I apologize to that last caller for hanging up prematurely. Dean calling in from Monterey. Dean, thanks for hanging on.
Yeah, I got on the phone because you were talking about man's insanity lately.
Yeah, well, there you go.
It is so true. It is so true. No wonder people are reaching back to youth pedophilia and stuff to get escape from the adult world. And I think that's what it's all about. Nothing to do with sex. That once you become an adult, you're adulterated to the point of insanity. Yeah. And the showcase example, and I dare anyone to find another example more obvious. We don't care if evidence exists that prove our government killed John Lennon. We don't care. We're insane. Think about it.
Well, you know what? When you talk about the innocence with this pedophilia thing, I think it's more of a perversion, and people, like you said, they go insane. And well, what the lack of sanity is insanity. When you are insane, you're not sane. What is it you're embodying when you're insane? Evil, and evil wants to take the innocence of a child. So it looks down at a child, and it says, "I can control this situation because a full-grown man can easily overcome a small child, mentally and physically." And so this perversion, this evil that gets in us as we become more and more insane to what's going on in the world, you start to have these perverted thoughts. And when you start living them out, then you want to normalize it. Say, no, it's not perverted, it's MAP, minor attracted persons, pedophilia. No, call it what it is, pedophilia. It's wicked, it's evil, it's wrong in every way, shape, and form. So I'm not going to ever.
It's almost anti-life.
Yeah,
and,
it is.
And, you know, as far as adults, the reason we're adulterated and we're kind of insane once we pass puberty, whatever you want to call it, is because the powers that be, the richest families on earth, maybe 5 families that really do run the world with the most trillions and trillions of dollars each family, they are evil, and they practice Satanism on us. And they make us evil on purpose so that we are hobbled and crippled and weak so they can control us. And until we jail Stephen King, we deserve it.
All right. Dean, thanks for the call, brother. That's some wild stuff right there. Gary calling in. Gary from Live Oak. What say you, Gary?
Thanks for the call, brother.
Oh, you got to turn your radio down in the background. Anyway, KSCO 1080 Saturday special. I'm Alan Masters sitting in from oh God, that's driving me nuts. Driving me nuts. Can you fix that? There we go. Gary, are you there?
Yo, you talking to me?
Yes, sir. Gary, what's going on?
Okay, hey, well, somehow we got crossed. Hey, listen, fine. Hey, you know, back in, what was it, World War I, World War II, they had what was called the League of Nations. And they were going to get things straightened out in the world and end all the wars and everything. Well, eventually they became the United Nations. And then I remember the United Nations was going to do the same thing. They were going to feed the impoverished around the world and this and that. And next thing you know, according to them, the world's overpopulated.
Yeah.
What's the world population? 7 billion, heading towards 8. And their conclusion was that, well, 500 million or a billion people need to die. You know, the world's overpopulated. And is that where we're being programmed? I know we're being deceived. Are we being deceived on a mass scale? And who loves death more than the devil? And it's freaking evil what they're trying to do. So are they trying to kill one of us off at a time, a little here and a little there? And so, you know, it's like a massive chess game. We need to outplay them. Whether it's quit paying taxes, maybe there should be a tax revolt in 2022. I mean, Joe Biden keeps claiming everything's paid for, so what's the problem? But
it's going to cost you nothing.
this stranglehold on our economy and society, and turning you against me and the black folk against the yellow folk and vice versa, it's a bunch of crap. I don't wake up every morning as a racist. You know, but yet it's programmed in me, constantly being bombarded with this crap. Yep. I get along just fine with people. You know, you don't try to take the wallet out of my back pocket or destroy my property or harm my family or me personally. And, you know, just the basic Christian philosophy, do unto others as you'd have done unto you. It's sometimes not easy to do, but I think there's some really sinister and evil forces at work. And they'd like nothing more than for us to destroy ourselves.
Yeah.
And, you know, look at the Chinese government. We don't have the freedom. China doesn't have the freedom that we have here today. And there's nothing more than they would like is to maybe get rid of us or have us kill ourselves. But I think it's just downright evil that people are trying to get us to self-destruct. And I think we need to stand up en masse and say no. No, no, no.
That's what's
happening.
happening.
Until we come to that point and do that, you know, I don't know if you've ever heard of vigilante gold or vigilante blue. There's a lot of people out there in the military and law enforcement that feel exactly the same way we do. They have kids. They're God-fearing, loving, basic Christian American type people, and they're getting fed up with this crap. Yep. And we need to stand up and say no, 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 no more.
There you go.
I appreciate your show. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Gary. The phone number is 831-479-1080. I'm Alan Masters, sitting in for MZ today. Bo Hansen sitting here quietly. You're listening to KSCO 1080 and KOMY 1340 all across Santa Cruz, Monterey, Salinas, Watsonville, all the way to Pebble Beach and Silicon Valley. What do you think about all this, Bo? Interesting. Look at how many men have called up. Every one of these guys, pretty much with the exception of one, who doesn't like the fact that I'm confident, which I think is funny. I am very confident. I'm very confident when God puts something in my heart, I don't doubt it.
Well, let me tell you this. As a farmer in a garden, I know that if I don't give the plants some water, I'm confident that they will wilt and die.
Right.
It's pretty much that simple. And we're seeing a certain group of people that are worshiping these so-called scientists that are indoctrinated. That's right. They have their doctorate degree, which is indoctrinated. Right. And the whole mass thing just blows my mind. These particles, or airborne particles of the so-called virus, are so microscopic. It's like putting a face covering on, expecting it to stop something. It's like, I'm going to use a chain link fence as a mosquito net.
Right.
It's really what it's like.
Yeah, that's exactly.
And the best way to prevent yourself from having an adverse reaction to any virus is a strong, healthy immune system.
A good example is go into the airport at SFO, for those of you listening, and have ever been into the bathroom in the airport at 9 o'clock in the morning when most people's constitution starts working, and wear your mask. See if you don't smell an adverse smell. And guess what? That fecal matter that you're smelling is going right in your nose the same way these germs are passing right through those masks. You just can't smell them, okay? This is the reality of it. He's absolutely right. Wearing these face coverings, unless you're wearing an N95 or really professional grade mask, is like wearing a chain link fence over your face trying to keep mosquitoes from getting through it. It's useless. And sadly, we believe because we put a bandana. You ever seen somebody with a bandana? Let me ask you something. Do you really think that bandana is doing anything? It's not clamped down around your nose the way it's supposed to be, so the air is going right next to your nose and underneath your chin and all around any of these areas. All you're doing is making it look like you're wearing a mask. I look like I'm covering my face. Will that work? So then the other night I saw something on the internet where this woman was talking about her kids had to wear masks going to school. And she says, my kids came home and said, as long as we wear the masks and pull it down around our chin so that we at least have it kind of on our face like almost like, it's under your mouth, so where your nose and mouth are exposed, the teachers are letting the kids get away with that. It's like we are literally being made into puppets with these masks because we are obedient to these people. We have to stop being obedient to the wrong authority.
It's all about comply.
Yeah,
and so the mask mandate has to come before this so-called vax mandate. They're seeing what they can get away with and how far they can push this.
That's
seeing
right.
where people's consciousness levels are at.
Let's go to the phones in Santa Cruz. Krishna, what's going on? What do you think?
Oh, well, are you taking any old subject today,
Any old
free
subject,
for all?
anything. Yes, whatever you want. Saturday special.
I'm glad to hear that because this is going to be any old free for all. Yesterday, I turned on the TV and I hear something really disturbing. I know I don't think you want bad news anymore. This is like old news, but even more disturbing. This is about the conservatives like us and liberals, and how liberals have outdone us every time on collecting money so they get into office, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And that this man was saying, I couldn't get his name, that Republicans have completely shut down as far as this effort goes. Now, the big money, I think all that the liberals do tap onto is all these huge what do you call it? High-tech companies.
Right.
They give them all their money, and we have nowhere else to go except for people like me that give them $10.
Right. Well, you know
You
what we
know
need
what
to
I'm
do?
saying?
Yes, what we need to do is more of what we've been doing, which is, of course, where they're trying to silence us is through social media and actually communicating face-to-face, one-on-one. And when you're in a restaurant, when you're in, a Costco or any store and somebody says something to you, have a conversation. Thank them for their point of view. Actually have a conversation and make it a valuable conversation that they walk away going, you know what? I'm not alone. I'm not alone in this world. Bo and I went to breakfast the other day, and there was a guy there who was wearing a hat that was a veteran's hat, and we bought his breakfast. The man started crying in front of his grandchildren.
Oh,
And
he
said,
must be
God
so
bless
lonely.
you. Thank you,
It's
guys.
so
Exactly.
sad.
And you know what? We also out there in this world feel like that we're the lone voice, but we are not.
Yes,
We
I
are
feel
not.
that. I really feel that. I know I have a few friends here, and we tried to get rid of Newsom, and we were not successful. I never thought we were going to be really successful, but I like the fact that we tried. And
Yes.
aside from them, that and my rabid son, who's so rabid with hate of what's going on in this country right now, I really take comfort from that.
Well, you
I
know
just
what?
call him so I can hear his rabid voice.
Right. But you know what you need to do? Here's what you need to do. You need to say, son, you have to
Yeah.
see the injustice, but don't hate it. Because if you hate it, that's the big trick. This is the trick of the devil. He wants to conjure up hatred in your heart. And so if your son is becoming hateful, it will drive him insane. And then he starts making bad choices because he's not.
I think
dealing
he's
from
been there and coming back again.
Good.
He loves it so much. I think he feeds on it.
Yeah,
And,
well, that's.
And to tell you to the truth, after all, he is my son, even though he's adopted. He's more my son than any of my unadopted kids.
That's funny.
And it's precisely because that hate spurs him on to do something. He wants to run for. He moved from here to Texas so he could breathe, and then he's so passionate. I said, hey, do something with it instead of telling your mother how much you hate what's going on. Do something. So I think that when he comes, reallocates himself here, he's going to run for school board.
Well, there you go. We need good people out there, but
And
make sure
that is the little ways we can help. But this business of money really scares me, that they bought out all these high-tech businesses here,
Right. Yeah.
and they are giving them tons of money. They don't even have to go to little folks like me.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well,
And
do me a favor. Do me a favor. I need you to write this down or try and remember it. You need to get your son what we have for the military. It's called coping strategies. And you can get that at actually probably the best way is to go to patriotoutreach.org. And you can get this meditation exercise, very simple, takes 7 minutes. And it's coping strategies, and it helps people with their anger, especially our patriots. You know, a lot of our veterans are committing suicide because they just don't know what to do with this anger because of the injustice, right? But what happens, my father, Roy Masters, put together a strategy with a colonel.
your dad was Roy Masters?
Yes, that's my dad.
Well, I'm very honored to meet you.
Oh, well,
I love
thanks.
that man. I
Yes,
love
me
that
too.
man because not so much that it was he didn't talk politics. He talked about how a family should be raised,
That's right.
how what a family should consist of.
That's right.
I mean, and here I am sitting in my bedroom, and thinking of what's happening to my grandchild, who was in government school. We finally took her out of there, put her in one of the charter schools, but even that has been infected. with this critical theory, race theory.
Ugh.
It's just amazing, you know.
Well, you know
and
what?
she was a perfectly fine girl, and she wrote a letter, and what she wrote made us laugh till we cried, and we thought it was wonderful. And now she's deep into this race theory, and she, you know, losing grammar, talking rubbish.
Right.
I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Maybe you should do some homeschooling. Maybe you should do it, Krishna. Maybe it's your job. Don't be sitting on your
I
bed.
don't understand their math, and she loves math and science. And my area of interest was always English literature.
You know what you should do? You should look up homeschooling options, because a lot of this stuff is available online to where all you have to do is to be that example in the home and make sure that they sit down and look at the different kinds of lessons that they're going to take for the day. Maybe you look at it first.
My husband was a professor. He's retired now, but he does plenty of that with her, just teaching her logic.
Good.
I mean, logic is what we need so desperately in these schools.
For sure.
And but anyway, I wanted to just know if there is any hope as far as this collection of money that goes into politics. It always has, but now it seems to me that they've got it all sewn up, the left. Yeah. As far as where they get their money and how they do their campaigns and all. But look, you know, the latest votes in I lose all my memory. That happened recently, and we won with very little money. The truck driver that won against an old hat. So it's not always. I think we have reached that point in politics in this fabulous country, is anger is finally hitting the average person. Yeah. So we're not going to take it anymore. That's why the truck driver won.
That's right.
That's why Newton won.
Break.
All right, thank you. And keep on going like your dad did. Bye-bye.
KSCO, 1080 AM, Santa Cruz, KOMY, 1340 AM, Watsonville, La Selva. Taking a look at the roads right now, we are seeing a slowdown on Highway 101 and the northbound and southbound lane between San Martin and Coyote. The southbound is showing 14 minutes, northbound 25. Please give yourself a little extra time. If you're heading from San Jose on Highway 17 southbound in the Campbell Los Gatos area, before you get on to 17, it is showing a 3 to 5 minute delay. On Highway 1, we are showing a slowdown at Moss Landing if you're heading south. Continuing on, it is in or at the limit all the way down to Carmel. Highway 101 all the way down to King City, looking good. And if you're going from Salinas into Monterey on 68, that is also, let's see, in Watsonville on Lakeview Road. As we continue down, Highway 1 all the way down to Monterey from Moss Landing is looking good. A little bit of a backup, few minutes back up. Carmel by the Sea as you continue south, a little bit probably for people enjoying the day out today. Highway 101, as you continue south from Salinas all the way down to King City, is looking good. Salinas 68 to Monterey is also looking good. In the weather forecast, today is going to be sunny with a high near 76 degrees, light and variable wind, partly cloudy with a road low around 52 degrees, calm winds. KSCO News Talk time, 10:06.
To hang up on you, but I'm sorry, baby, but I have but you'll have to call back. KSCO has the inside track.
Saturday special. I'm Alan Masters sitting in for MZ today. KSCO 1080 and KOMY 1340.
I'm sorry, baby, but I really gotta go to KSCO Radio. Bye.
Well, it is the Saturday special. I'm Alan Masters sitting in for MZ today, and a big happy birthday to Michael Zwerling. Taking a day off, and a well-deserved day off. KSCO 1080, Santa Cruz, Monterey, Salinas, Watsonville, all the way to Pebble Beach in the Silicon Valley. I'm going to be here for another hour. We blanked out there for a moment at the end of the last hour. Apologize for that. Joining me right now is Bo Hansen. Bo is a friend of mine. He's a professional fisherman, organic farmer, and on an interesting journey in life. And we've been having a lot of fun working together for the last couple of weeks. He's got I think a lot of insight on life for a young guy. He's 34. I'm 61 years old. A lot of you folks out there that listen to KSCO know who my dad is, Roy Masters. And so I grew up with a guru for a dad, I guess you might say. A lot of people say my dad was a guru. He was just dad to me. So I don't know anything more than what I was taught my whole life. And one caller called up and said, well, you're awful sure of yourself, aren't you? And I said, you're damn right I am. Kind of jokingly. But listen, I've learned in my life to trust in my intuition. And from the very beginning, I could see that something stunk about what is happening in our world today. When I say the very beginning of this pandemic thing, it just stunk. It didn't feel right to me. My voice is a little hoarse because I got a cold recently. So, if I sound a little different than I did last time, it's because I'm doing the show with a hoarse voice. Bo Hansen, so you've done an hour of live radio. Is that the first hour of live radio you've ever done?
Oh, definitely the first hour of live, yeah.
Live's fun, isn't it?
Oh, I've been enjoying it.
The phone number, if you want to call in and talk with us, is 831-479-1080. And we've got one caller that's been hanging on for a good long time. But the topics are vast. There's so much to talk about. Non-binary professor seeks to normalize pedophilia. He wants to call it MAP, minor attracted persons. What do you think about that? That's pretty disgusting. Ben & Jerry's claims that Rittenhouse trial shows the justice system is racist. Oh, boy. No more Ben & Jerry's for me. I haven't had Ben & Jerry's in a long time anyway, for obvious reasons. I will not spend my money on the liberal agenda and those who support it, like Ben or Jerry or Ben & Jerry's or Nike or any of these companies that are just supporting the communist cause. I hope you agree with me on that. And if you don't, you're welcome to call 831-479-1080. Let's go to the phones. Let me see if I can do this right without hanging up on somebody. I think Mike had been hanging on the longest here. Mike in Santa Cruz, what is going on?
Testing?
Yes, testing 1, 2. Yes.
Okay. I understand there's been 2 other Garys already. So
yes.
Anyway, I believe that the most with what most of the people have been calling about, and that's the causes of civil disruption and attacks on rights and etc. But here, I live in Panetta Stand, which is named after Leon Panetta, who gave military and policy information to Red Chinese communist agent. And Leon Panetta is sponsoring and actually has free ads on KSCO all week long for his Panetta Institute. The local community foundation has a social justice fund dedicated to the Red Chinese and Soviet spy, Hugh DeLacy. And they are the ones that had secret donations to a person that the county board of the county administration officer announced to the papers that this person that was paid by secret donors would be selecting which businesses and which businesses do not survive. So you've got heavy-duty, red Chinese, communist collaborator. Anybody can look up Connecticut. That's one of the few things they haven't wiped from his background. And all these people calling here today, unfortunately, don't know about it. And my biggest criticism, I've known MZ for 30 years, and we've always had cordial relations, meeting and, having, various programs, and I've been on a number of them. But KSCO prohibits emails to the host on KSCO. And I can't get one word to his anti-red Chinese communist crew that speaks there. I can't get one word, to various other people, some of them that have traveled to Cuba, like John Savage and other people that are totally anti-American. MZ has no problem interviewing Sam Farr, Mike Rotkin, a New American Movement, hardcore Democratic socialist. MZ says...
Hold on one second. What I want to do is, I don't want to be MZ's complaint line. So I put you on hold. If Dave can take your phone number and give it to MZ, you guys can have a phone call offline. Because, it's like not fair to put that on my shoulders, especially when I can go to Al, who's calling in from Watsonville, who may have something interesting to talk about that you and I and the rest of us can appreciate, except not the complaint line, Al. Let's not make it the MZ complaint line, okay?
Hey, Mr. Masters and Bo Hansen.
How you doing?
There is hope, whether it's enough or not, but, I don't know if you've been following the Rittenhouse trial at all.
Yes,
or the events leading up to it. The nobility of that kid, Kyle Rittenhouse, is astounding. And, it actually starts to make me tear up. I mean, that kid was so self-possessed, both in, his ability to control himself in terms of not shooting wildly or anything like that.
Right.
And, that he had actually been in the fire and EMT cadet program,
right?
As a teenager, out there helping people, and was actually enrolled taking nursing classes online, and had also been in a law enforcement cadet program, and was seen out there scrubbing graffiti off, and off a public school building. And just, at that age, his interest in doing good things for society,
right,
and protecting it from being destroyed, and then the vile attacks on this young man are just absolutely terrible, and and ridiculing him too when he broke down on the stand at one point.
Oh, sad.
And most criminal trials like that, or murder trials, the defendant does not take the stand. And, his mother said that he wanted to do that himself, to be able to tell his story. And, the way he stood up under this horrible questioning from the prosecutor, who's obviously some sort of a social justice left-wing plant. I'd heard that some of his election funding had come from, Soros and, left-wing sources.
Yep.
But, I think there's a lot of hope in the society when you see a young man like that.
I do too. No, I agree with you, Al. I saw the same thing you did. And I'll add one thing to this. That judge is holding that prosecutor's feet to the fire, isn't he? I love seeing that, how he shuts him down. And the other thing is, somebody said that the judge's phone went off one time. And you know what the ringtone was?
Yeah, God bless America.
It was proud to be,
or proud
an
to be
American.
an American.
I think that's so great.
But, he was, this shows you how much things have changed. He is, I think, the longest serving judge in the state of Wisconsin. And I think he's a Democrat, but he was appointed by a Democrat.
Right.
And, this guy has kind of an understanding. I heard him talking at one point when they were discussing the intricacies of the legality of carrying a long gun. Because the prosecutor said, the rubric, which is just the title of the law, said that, persons under 18 years old weren't allowed to carry, deadly weapons. Well, that's just the rubric. And of course, the prosecutor didn't really understand the rubric, it was just the title.
Right.
And the judge is explaining it to him. And when you actually look at the body of the law, it said that there's an exception. If a child is under, I can't remember if it was like, under 15 or 16 and under or 15 and under or whatever, they could carry a gun when they were in the presence of a responsible adult for like hunting.
Right.
But from 16 to 18, if you were legally carrying a weapon, you were allowed to hunt by yourself.
Right.
So, he was not committing a crime by actually possessing that gun, and he had actually checked in, with the police, to see if it was legal to do that sort of thing.
Right.
But it's just the underhanded stuff that has been done to attack this man. Or I call him a man, but he's still, a child in a lot of ways.
Yeah, right. A young man,
just
really. Yes.
Really terrible to see what was going on in the press.
Yeah.
All these pundits on the left.
But you know what, Al, you know what?
Horrible.
What's important here is that you and I saw the same thing. And once again, like I've said, we are not alone. We feel like we may be alone. Like, did you see that? I saw that. Did you see that? Yeah, I saw that too. Do you know how that is a wave going through our country right now? Everybody saw what we saw that is awake. Now, the woke didn't see it, but the awake did. So, Al, thank you for your call. We got a bunch of them stacked up here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, well, even people who weren't awake began to see it, though, when they saw the trial, because they was just drinking all that poison that was being dispersed by left-wing media.
That's
and some of them actually turned around. Some people who really surprised me.
Yep, I agree. All right, brother,
anyway,
thank you for the call.
Great having you on the show.
Thank you. Really appreciate it, and I enjoy doing it, too, here, believe it or not. Rudy calling in from Marina. Rudy, what is going on with you?
Well, that wasn't what I called in about, but I'll tell you what, I go 100% opposite. This is what you get when you allow the media to get information about a trial before the trials happen. It goes on the airwaves. Everybody gets a public opinion. The trial goes to trial. The kids had time to do 101 acting. Give me a break. I've been down. I did time. That is the biggest joke. That last guy is something else. Should have cut him off. The reason I called.
Oh, you know what? Unfortunately, you just got cut off. We're not going to go down that road. Let's go now to Nordic Dave. What is going on, Nordic Dave?
Yeah, hey, great to talk to you this morning.
Thank you.
I just want to bring up vaccinations really quick. I came across something that was really interesting. I think we're starting to hit a resistance layer of, folks who are those vaccinated versus the not vaccinated. I think pretty much everyone who wants a vaccination has probably got one already. And I think berating people who haven't at this point isn't of much value.
Right.
I think there's clear evidence we're hitting that permafrost layer of, folks who want it, versus don't want it. And, the majority has been vaccinated and fine, let it go at that, right? I think we lose sight of the original vision of flattening the curve and trying to keep people out of hospitals to now we're at total eradication, which I think is probably difficult.
What do you think about that, Bo?
Oh, I think totally. It's I think they've either gotten one or two, or going to get 3 and 4 and 5 and 6.
Oh, I think we're not done. These will continue on for a long time, because you know what's going to happen here, Dave, is that they're going to have to start fixing the things that they've done wrong with the first set of injections they've given us. They're going to go, oh gosh, this one causes this. Now you're going to have to take that, and it's like those commercials, at the end of the commercial for the big pharma commercials, you may experience death, diarrhea, coughing, swollen heart, oily discharge. I don't want oily discharge anytime,
But it may get rid of your headache, though.
Yeah, your headache will be gone, but you're going to have oily discharge. Give me my headache back.
Yeah, well, men won't get pregnant.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's funny. I think there's some reality that's kind of kicking into this. So I used to work for Pat Gelsinger, who's the CEO of Intel, And he's one of the most fully woke executives that you're going to find in the Valley. And their policy is really interesting they came out with on COVID vaccines. It's kind of 4 bullet points here. I'll just go quick. In policy 8.1, this is the policy section. Intel does not require COVID-19 vaccinations for its workforce. Vaccinated employees cannot say they do not want to work with an unvaccinated employee. Intel forbids managers asking about vax status. Intel accepts antibodies as a full substitute for vaccination for people who must quarantine after a COVID exposure.
Wow.
That's really a turn of fate.
Yeah, right? Wow. I wouldn't have guessed that for Intel.
No, especially coming out of the Valley. So I think it's just kind of a proof point that, beyond, I think, the rhetoric of, the cheerleader squads around the vaccinations. I mean, I got my vax. I got Johnson & Johnson. I didn't want the RNA. I got the traditional. And that was my choice. And I respect other people's choices. And I think the CEOs of these companies now are realizing that, there's a certain reality to maintaining the workforce that they've got to take a more modified position.
Right. Interesting. Well, thank you for the call, my brother. Appreciate that.
Take care. Thank you, sir.
Yes, you can call 800. No, it's not 800. It's 831. See, I'm used to a national phone number. 831-479-1080. 831-479-1080. Let's go back to the phones and talk to Roy in Watsonville. Roy, thanks for calling in on the Saturday special. What's going on?
You bet, Alan. Actually, it's Rory. So
oh,
like
Rory. Okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. Nah, no problem. But, hey, couple things before I ask Bo a question is, the whole thing at Kenosha and any other city, and there is that the law enforcement stood down. They let that happen. It's a crime that should be prosecuted. In fact, the left, I heard, is threatening to riot again in Kenosha over this trial.
Oh boy. Yeah.
And, yeah, I read that. I didn't read the whole article, but I saw that headline this morning. But the thing is, you take a town like Kenosha, that's where Reince Priebus is from, and he said that most families were, the men were upstairs with their guns, their long guns and their sidearms all night in those neighborhoods, and the women and children went down into the basement. And if those fools had ever gone into the side streets and neighborhoods, there would have been a lot of dead protesters, so-called.
Right.
That's how close it got. Priebus's parents still lived there.
Wow.
And so he was. You had just get your head around this, you law-abiding, God-fearing Americans that are listening. A 90-year-old, if I remember correctly, 90-year-old photography business in Kenosha with antique photography equipment, cameras and photographs, was burned to the ground by these fools. Yep. If anybody's coming at you with a Molotov cocktail, they're for a game. They might as well be pointing a machine gun at your head.
That's right.
And those guys should have been cut down. I know Kyle's young. I wouldn't have advised my son to be out there. But given the situation, he defended himself, and that's the right thing to do. And he was real careful. Good shot. My gosh. So anyway, the other comment one more before I ask Bo a question. MAP stands for Minor Attracted Pervert. Right. And these guys always pray. They always prey on the vulnerable, the fatherless. They pick them out. They groom them. They'll never come after my kids when they were small because I would have killed the son of a.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right.
Wouldn't happen. Not now, not tomorrow, not ever. I would kill the son of a. I would severely reel him in. I wouldn't say I'd kill him, but I would definitely disable him. I don't care what it would take. I'd headbutt him into unconsciousness. So
I love the self-editing, by the way. That was great.
Think twice. What's that?
Right. I said I love your self-editing.
Yeah, anyway,
that's fantastic.
I had to. Hey, it's for the family radio. Yeah. Bo, quick question. That's great. What kind of fishing do you do, number one? What is the short season fishing? And what are the main crops you're farming? How do you market your crops? It's great to hear young people I'm in agriculture. I got a BS in agricultural sciences, and I work in the strawberry industry. That's my background.
Yeah, usually
I'm just curious as to what's going on with your life now.
Well, usually I do Dungeness crab. So that's usually a short season as far as the making money. And it's, it's a derby fishing here. So there's no limit, and it's get them while they're there. And I grow.
Where do you fish, and where do you market your crabs?
Well, I fish
you like
on
Half Moon Bay?
No, I'm all the way up in Oregon. So Charleston to Newport, down to Brookings. Yeah, I'm out of Oregon based. There's boats that I've worked on here, and I don't own a boat, so I've worked and taken a share of boats. And those seasons tend to go very quickly, anywhere from 9 weeks to 15 weeks. And as it starts to die off, it just it's not financially viable to keep on.
And they
fishing.
don't taste as good.
Oh, well, yeah, and it's just you're paying for fuel, and you're paying for bait, and you're paying for and it's just
all the above.
And then I mainly grow a broad spectrum of crops. It's not marketed. This is just for food myself, for family, for the neighborhood.
He's like the guy that lives off grid, that feeds his family and trades out with his neighbors and stuff, and everybody just kind of lives. Yeah, it's the way we used to live.
Nice barter system going.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yep.
Like for myself, I mean, I live in town here in Wattsville, but I always grow a garden. Even though I work in ag, I got to have my garden.
Well, it's amazing that certain types of gardening, too, it's once you get them going, they almost kind of just take care of themselves. As long as you're harvesting, and I'm really into living soil and really into, more of a no-till and just feed that soil. And it's amazing. Yep. That's the best medicine we can have. Like, I don't need to be on supplements. If I'm eating fresh out of my garden every single day, what's the point of a supplement? I don't need it. Yeah. I'm getting everything from the soil, from the ground.
Yep.
Well, especially if you're using the bloomin' minerals, which is that leftover humic shale that Dave's got out in the Dave Cave.
Right. So
and
he's
you put
talking
that
about
in the soil, it feeds.
So
your
for
plants
everybody
pick it up
else,
and you get it into plants.
And my wife got some of this recently. But everybody else, they're wondering what they're talking about. Dr. Wallach, Longevity, the Dave Cave. You guys can come visit him at KSCO. But for everybody else that needs these minerals that we're not getting from the food and fruits and vegetables that we're eating because they've had it kind of almost engineered out of them, you should be taking some minerals. I've been taking the minerals from Longevity for a while now. And, man, my hair started turning black again. It's bizarre.
Yeah, I'm the same. Yeah, Alan, I'm the same vintage as you, and we in the family had this virus back in December. I didn't even have congestion.
Wow.
Zero. Had some backache, lost sense of taste and smell.
Yeah.
I went out and worked. I got my truck and drove around. I stayed away from people. But so those minerals and vitamins, excellent. Extra D, zinc, and so on. Now, one last testimonial, and then I'll bail out.
Okay.
That bloomin' mineral, I got it from Dave 2 seasons ago, and I started using it in the home garden. Now, I didn't do a double-blind study, with an untreated control like all us unvaccinated people are the untreated control for this giant experiment. But I have noticed in the home garden, and here in Watsonville, we get tremendous late blight pressure on the tomatoes because it's so foggy in the late summer. I still get the mildew, but the late blight, adios. It's not even around. And I'm starting to wonder if it's not the minerals that I'm supplementing in the soil when I plant. So anyway, it's a little anecdotal testimony there. Anyway, Bo, great to hear you interviewed. What town are you outside of there in coastal Oregon?
We live actually in and around Grants Pass,
Ashland, right?
Oregon. And
yeah. So you're west of Klamath Falls, right?
Correct. We're Oregon California border is where we live.
Yeah. But, I love the fact, real quick, Alan, that when the BLM guys showed up June of 20 to demonstrate in Klamath Falls, the sheriff said, "Be real nice and polite, and you won't get hurt. I can't guarantee your safety." And they went down that main street. Same thing in Boise. No rioting, no pillaging, no burning down a building. They saw all the good, honest citizens there with their long guns, their brass knuckles, their sidearms, and they did their little trip, and they got in their bus and went back to the coast.
That's exactly
So I heard that firsthand.
Oh, yeah.
All right, you guys. All the best.
We're pretty proud of that. Thank you, Rory.
Take care.
Bye-bye. That is too funny. All right, we're going to keep on the phones. 831-479-1080. I'm Alan Masters with Bo Hansen, sitting in for MZ today on the Saturday special. Let us go to Marcella, if I can push the right button. Marcella, what is going on?
Lots is going on, unfortunately. Thank you for taking my call. I want to respond to some of the garbage I've watched on TV. They keep saying that football player, Aaron, was lying when he said that he was immunized. Right. I recommend people read Vaccination is Not Immunization, The War on Children by Dr. Tim O'Shea.
Right.
You know, you could be immunized and not just through a vaccine.
Right.
I mean, but you know, people don't know to question anything. Also, Benjamin Rush, who was the doctor of George Washington, said, if we don't put medical freedom in the Constitution, we will have a medical cartel in control. And that's what we have. Yep. Big Pharma has more lobbyists than all the Congress put together multi-times. And it really upsets me when I hear these vaccine Nazis like Geraldo Rivera on Fox. I guess he's a Democrat, and I used to like him. But he goes, I despise these anti-vaxxers, or Gene Simmons at KISS. Yeah. I mean, and they're just, I mean, this what I have articles from 10, 20 years ago from the New York Times and LA Times. They say what we're doing, letting people know about the dangers of vaccines, because we are the victims. And it's been going on for a very long time. And it just makes my blood boil. And everyone says, well, I'm vaccinated. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. Well, let me explain again what an anti-vaxxer is. It's someone whose child was either killed or permanently brain damaged from these damn vaccines. And people think, oh, they do follow-up studies on anyone who has a vaccine injury. They don't do diddly squat. You can sue them. That's why in 1986, President Reagan was hoodwinked into signing the vaccine injury compensation program and having the VAERS program. But Congress has not followed up on the vaccine injury for the past 30 years. They're supposed to report to Congress. And there's a doctor who's also a Congressman, Posey. He tried to have Dr. William Thompson testify about all the vaccine information that they literally burnt at the CDC, NIH, one of those alphabet government agencies. Right. And it's just, you know, you can't touch them and they can destroy you. But the people think they're so knowledgeable about vaccines, and you ask them a simple question, what's an MMR? They don't know squat. And, you know, it's for people who experience this 24/7 with their children. We're like the worst people on earth. It's ridiculous. They just have a two-tier system. Biden is just trying to be divisive with the American people, and he is the dumbest of the dumb. He was installed. I don't respect him.
He's a perv. Yep, he's a pervert.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you. I love that. I love the passion that we're getting out of here. Let's go to Watsonville and talk to Roy. Roy, what's going on? I'm Alan Masters with Bo Hansen here, sitting in for MZ.
Hey, I got you. You hear me?
Yes, sir. What's going on?
I just want to reiterate some of what that lady was saying. She's been through hell, and we know that with her child, with other vaccines. But this, you were talking before about masks. You were talking about something's wrong from the beginning. I thought something wrong was when, Trump even locked down our country. I thought something was wrong because usually, throughout history, we take sick people, and that's who we separate from the main population. And we did just the opposite. So I knew something was up too. But people really should look into this technology that they pushed through and approved in a year. That usually takes about 5 to 8 years for a normal vaccine, because I'm really upset because now they're pushing that everybody that isn't vaccinated is evil, and they're locking them up now in Australia. So this, and I think in the UK too, they're going to have laws against people that don't get vaccinations very soon, and it's really the biggest lie, because they all know, if you look at the CDC and you look at basically the scientific evidence, that people that are getting vaxxed now are spreading the disease among themselves, spreading it to the unvaccinated, and they're making the unvaccinated like the bad guys. Like I wasn't vaccinated, but I got coronavirus last year. I'm 70 years old, and I was sore for 5 days and had a little fever, and then I lost my taste and smell for 10 days. That was the extent of it. But they're making all the non-vaxxers, like she said, she used the word Nazi, the Nazis that are pushing this vaccine. I almost feel as strongly as that.
Let me jump in here and join you on this conversation, because I got to totally agree with you. This is what I really see coming, and like they've basically stated, the people that are awake and actually do research and free thinkers and understand that, this is not creating any immunity to these shots, or not creating any immunity. We're the bad guys, right? And we're seeing the push for this so-called vaccination passports. Well, the vaccination passports, they already are being made black market, right? These false passports. So
I don't blame.
They're going to start blaming that. So now we're going to need an RFID, an ID, and
a chip,
and then that's going to lead to a chip. Okay, then it's going to be, that's the only way that we're going to be able to secure, and know for sure everyone's medical history, and know if they've gotten this jab or not and complied. They're going to have to take that chip.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid if we don't stand up pretty soon about this big lie that, well, I guess the courts are they're trying to stop the mandate now. A few state attorney generals finally got some nerve, I guess. I don't understand why. We have Johnson in the Senate, we have Rand Paul in the Senate.
Well, you just got to look at where they're getting their funding from. Really, the way I see it and perceive it is pretty much everyone up top, red, blue, doesn't matter. They're getting the same funding, and it's just two different sides to a counterfeit coin. It really is. And Thomas Jefferson said there's an illusion of choice in a two-party system, and I can't agree more with that. We have somehow let this bureaucracy take over this country. When did becoming a politician be when did it become like a job? It used to be we had a job and we would serve our country for a set of years, and now it's just a career path. It's a career path, and it's nasty. And we see the revolving door of appointed positions, FDA and stuff like that, for companies like Monsanto back into serving the government, and then back to the countries or those companies. And it's really it's easy to see once you remove yourself from it, and you really take it back and all take it in. And that's what's clear to me a long time ago. And that's why, how do I get off this? How do I raise my family that's not going to be affected by this, or to be affected as little as possible? And I knew that I couldn't rely on the system. And that has really made me be self-reliant. But we see the self-reliant people are free thinkers. They actually think and do studies. And that's why they're the ones that turn not to get this jab and not believe in the mandates. And now it's just, how do we inspire, and how do we create this this passion for people to stand up and to honestly, it's
tell the
truth. We have to not comply. We have to not comply, and that means it's going to get worse before it gets better. I'm sorry to say, but we're already seeing it. Look at the airline pilots.
No, I agree.
Well, it's like Red Dawn. Remember the movie Red Dawn with Patrick Swayze, the original one?
Oh yeah.
The Wolverines, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it is going to be those that are free thinkers that are going to be the ones that rebuild our country. Because unfortunately, we've got a bunch of zombie apocalypse politicians, and they're leading us into this zombie apocalypse. Sadly.
I always ask why. Everything you guys are saying. I mean, you did explain the size of bureaucracy, which is extraordinary, because in the last 30 years, I think the size of the federal government has like quadrupled. And you look at the rate of growth of government and the GDP, and something weird is going on. So I agree with that bureaucracy point you made 100%. But we have to have people that stand up to a president that says, you know, what are you going to do? You're going to fight us with a rifle? We have jets and nukes. And then he says, you guys don't understand. You don't understand supply chain principles. Yeah,
right.
give me a break. You know.
We said something the other day, and I think it was you, Bo, about cannibalism. What was that?
Oh,
what was that statement?
In FEMA documents, they give it 2 weeks for the food supply to stop in inner cities that we'll start seeing cannibalism. 2 weeks.
This is from FEMA. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
they got nothing. They got nothing to do. I mean, they got so many people out in FEMA now sitting around waiting for the. You know, I don't know. Maybe that's what they want. They want civil war. Some people think.
Oh, of course. They actually need civil war to happen. They need the collapse of this country to happen for the one world government to rise.
Yeah.
I'm just
Red
gonna
Dawn.
say.
Red Dawn.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot to that. Thanks for listening to me.
All right. Very good. Thanks for the call, Roy. Let's go up to Live Oak and talk to Tony, who's been waiting a good long time. Tony, what's going on?
I haven't been waiting. Usually I wait till the end of the program so I can hear everything that went on and I can make a cogent response.
Okay.
I'm about 3 Saturday specials ago, I broke my rule of trying to be pleasant and even comical on every one of my calls. And MZ was talking to me, and he asked me whether I was going to take the jab, and I said, hell no. And he laughed, a nervous laugh, because that was the first time I had said anything negative. Well, I'm going to say some negative things today.
Okay.
You guys are reinventing the wheel 20 times over just in this one program because you're not listening to the voice of a 400-year-old guy named Sir James Occam. Or I don't know if I got the first name right, but Occam is spelled Occam, and scientists call his theory that the simplest explanation is the best explanation. They call it the law of parsimony. Now, when Big Pharma started out, they were in total violation of the law of parsimony because they were complexifying cures that were very easily handled in simpler ways. And I'll give you an example of diabetes. Diabetes can be solved. I mean, everything I know, I learned from KSCO. That should be a new motto for the program, I think, for listening to KSCO. Everything. And I get podcasts from Ben Fuchs, and I listen to him every morning. I get a chance to. And today, or yesterday was Friday, he had a guy called Lancaster who mentioned a naturopath doctor who says he has isolated the cause of COVID. And it's a two-headed parasite. Now, that doesn't blow you away, but he says he's got it. He's online. Everybody can check into him. And I guess they probably have ways to get to him through this Lancaster guy. But certainly you can hear all about it on the rerun of the show, the Friday show of Ben Fuchs. I call him a composting pharmacist. But anyway, he listens to a lot of woo-woo stuff and stuff that doesn't make sense and stuff I know has been rebuked many years ago because I outrank you by 50 years. You're a young man. I outrank Alan by 25 years. I turned 86 on September 10th.
Awesome.
But you can actually look at everything you hear in terms of the law of parsimony. If you know a simpler solution than the one that's being proposed in public and talked about all over the country and all over the world, they're wrong and you're right.
That's right.
Until they prove you otherwise. So in order to be capable of rational thought, we should have a program about how to think, because kids are not being taught that in school at all.
No.
They're being,
taught how to stand in line and not ask questions and, just be a computer and be a robot. And
I've got to say one thing, though. Okay. I was going to get off the phone real quick, but I wanted to say one thing about you're talking to that lady, that Indian lady. I can't figure. But anyway, you were giving her advice, and I talked to her for half an hour at Costco one time, and she's the most rational human being I have ever met, literally, especially among women. And I know some very smart women, but she's up there in years too, and she should have her own program, because when you gave her advice, it's You're complexifying things. She's already handled that situation that you're trying to advise her on 20 or 30 years back. So you're forcing her to complexify her life by going over something that she's already settled. Again, I don't want to be too obtuse about it, but when I heard you giving her advice just before she signed off, you know who I'm talking about, right? This Indian lady.
Krishna. Yeah, I think.
Well, there you go,
yeah,
Krishna. Yeah, I forgot her name because I talked to her about 2 years ago at KSCO. And, you know, I actually was ready to propose to her. And she said, no, she's happily married. And I said, well, I'm going to live to be 200, and so he'll be gone, and maybe he'll give me another chance. Something like that. And I've talked to several women like that because I plan to get married when I'm 100. Because
all right, now listen, Tony. You're complexifying the show, so calm down.
Bye. Bye. You're right. Bye. But I'm glad you laughed. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, the pharmaceutical company.
Oh my gosh.
You know, just the whole Western medicine actually is not creating any cures. No cures at all, just treatments.
You know what?
Just treatments.
He talks about, though, the parasite, right? Mm-hmm. A two-headed parasite. And we're going to go to let's look like Julie in Central Valley. But ivermectin, you know, it kills parasites. It works for me. Julie, what's going on?
Oh, that was quick.
Yeah.
I just am a little surprised at the format of the show today. Not saying that I disagree, because I agree with you totally, but I just want to share a little story with you. Back in February, when the owner of this station received his first COVID shot, it's not a vaccine, which I tried to explain to him. I called in, and because he was touting the wonders of it, and it was going to be such a good thing and whatnot. So I did call in, and I explained that, you know, probably premature to start backing this shot to your listeners. And I was attacked by him and also a guest host, Rich Lieberman, I believe it was. What it boiled down to the end of the conversation is I was a stupid female, even though I worked in healthcare, and I had been researching this shot since they first started talking about it in the end of 2021.
Wait a minute. You spelled that wrong. That word is not spelled with an O. It's spelled with an I. The shot?
Oh, shit.
Oh, never mind. I'm only joking.
Oops, sorry. Anyway, so to finish my story, I wanted to just keep it brief because I was talked down to so terribly on the air. I ended the conversation. And so I sent the station owner an email expressing the same thing. You really should be more responsible about touting this shot to your listeners until we know exactly what this is all about. I received the nastiest reply from him, ending calling me a horse's ass, and he was glad that I would no longer be listening to his station anymore.
Well, obviously you're still listening.
Oh yeah, that, you know what? That I laughed. I thought it was ridiculous to send one of your devoted listeners an email like that. I mean, I'd be glad to share it with you if you want to see it. I still have it.
You know what I've learned, by the way. First of all, Julie, and thank you for calling in. I've learned that we all have different opinions. Now, I'll give you an example. My very own brother got the shot, and I said to him, "Oh, my God, you're kidding me." Then one of my children got the shot, and I went, "Oh, my God, you're killing me." I'm like, what is going on here? Now, just the other day, I went to breakfast with my brother. You know what he said to me? "I regret taking the shot."
Exactly, and I think that's where a lot of the anger comes from these people, is the anger and the fear. And
fear.
You know,
you're right.
Yeah, because I would hate to be walking around with that time bomb in me. I really would.
See, and you're obviously, you said, I heard it, you're in the healthcare industry somehow.
I was, not anymore. Okay. I saw the evils. I quit in 2015. I saw this coming. I saw this whole medical tyranny, uncaring healthcare workers. I saw it all coming. I quit in 2015. I could tell you things that would curl your toenails, what I saw.
Good for you. Well, I want you to know that I do have a hammer toe. Is that what they call it? So my toenails curl on their own. Julie, thanks for the call. Thank you. All right.
Thanks. Have a good day.
Okay, good. I am sitting in for MZ, who he has called me a horse's ass many a time, and I love it, and we laugh. And so all I can say is that I am a horse's ass. Let's call Zoltan a horse's ass to begin with. How you doing, Zoltan?
Yeah, I belong to the same group of horses.
Okay, good.
Not quite, but anyway. Yeah, so what people don't really know, okay, I was born in Hungary in a communist country, okay? So the communist system, they've been trying to take over the U.S. for over 50 to 75 years, okay? So right now people don't really know that we are in the Agenda 21, Agenda 30 conversion, okay? This moron, the senior Bush signed the agreement back in 1992 in Rio. Then after that, never got ratified by the Congress. Then Bill Clinton signed an executive orders to go ahead with it. So that's where we are kind of standing right now. And this COVID vaccine, the virus itself, the Wuhan virus, is actually a weapon of choice, a bioweapon to break down the population to accept future, vaccination.
Sure,
right?
That's right.
So if you look at the information for all the children where they get it, okay, they get like 72 freaking vaccines by the age of 18. So that's so many people get sick from the children, and I feel very bad to see all these children to be vaccinated, because they're screwing up their life, okay, the reproduction cycle and so on, okay?
Right.
That's the plan.
I did not take the vaccine. I would not take it. I was going to go to Europe this week. Then they changed the things again in Europe. Oh, it's just more problem with the COVID-19, which is nothing more than a bunch of buckets of crap again, because the regular flu season is coming in.
That's right.
Okay?
And I've got it right now. I've got the flu right now, I tell you.
Yeah, last year there was no flu season. Okay, this year again they call it a wave 4. Okay, that's BS again, because it's nothing more than the people who already been double vaccinated. They are shedding it. Just like 2-3 weeks ago, there was a big concert in Berlin only for the vaccinated people. Out of 100 people, some 24 got COVID again, because they were shedding the crap onto each other.
I hate it when people shed crap on me. That's bad. It's just a bad situation.
Then another thing I want to say is the Rittenhouse things in Wisconsin.
Yes.
So the guy who was actually trying to kill this wonderful young man, this Rittenhouse, the guy is another pervert. Okay, so the media never really said anything about it. That he also a pedophile. Okay, and he raped little boys. Okay,
right.
And his name was Rosenbaum or Rosenstein or one of these the wonderful guys. Okay, so finally some Christian people, okay, they stand up because the Soros supported mayors. Like in Minnesota and the DAs in Chicago or San Francisco and all these places, they refuse to charge real criminals, because they are trying to break down the society, burn it down. Okay, burn it down. So this way they're trying to create a socialist system. But Obama said that we have to break some eggs before we can completely rework the country. In other words, they just want to break the Constitution.
Sure,
like Obama's problem was also, the negative rights of the government, what the government cannot do to us. Okay, so that's why Soros is supporting all the open borders. They're attacking Poland, Hungary, Slovenia, down in south. Okay, from Mexico. We have hundreds of thousands of people are coming in, and you just cannot handle that.
Yep. All right. Well, listen, Zoltan, I've got one more call to get to before the end of the show. You are a righteous man. Thank you for what you had to say there.
You're doing a good job, you guys.
Appreciate it. Thank you for being a horse's ass like the rest of us horses' asses, by the way. and I got to tell you, I took ivermectin, which evidently is for horses' asses, and I'll take it. Last call for the show is Gordy, who's been waiting a long time. Gordy, what is up?
Oh,
thank you very much for being there, and I certainly respect your father.
Thank you.
He and I got along great.
Where do you start?
Yeah, where do
And
you start?
you've got
Okay.
like 2 minutes, brother.
Okay, confidence is one thing. Arrogance is something else, and we have a lot of people that are confused between the two.
Yep.
And you got Biden in there with his, what did he call it? Bring back, or build back better? No, it should be bring back the Bolsheviks. That's what he's doing. You cannot reason with emotionally distressed people. You just can't do it. And we have representatives that don't represent the people. Where are our representatives? Oh, they're off over in Glasgow. They're off over in Paris. They're all over the world. Where are they? Here locally, we can't communicate directly with our so-called reprehensibles. They do not listen to us. And I agree, we need to stick with this here, because those of us that are confident, that have been living outside this system as best we can now and trying to survive, we are the ones that will finally inherit the earth. And the rest of them, gee, what can I say about that? You know, you either understand that you're on your own when you come into this world and you're going to die, you know, on your own. And a lot of people just don't understand that, and they don't care to understand that. I would like to know what our representatives are doing for us. We lost one here in California because people are leaving. We do not have, but the writing on the wall, which is everywhere. Throw one more thing in here. This isn't the second younger man that's been attacked. I recall the Catholic kid there that was just browbeaten, yelled at, screamed at. Yeah. So people, don't you understand what's going on here? You're being taken over by a communist regime that's worldwide, and Biden is the biggest one now that we have to deal with, along with his partner there, who knows how far that goes.
Yeah, it reminds you 240 years ago, right? No taxation without representation. Give me liberty or give me death.
That's right.
Yes.
By the way, so Gordy, I got to go because I got to say a few things before the end of the show. Thank you for your call. Do appreciate that. Just want to take a minute to thank Michael Zwerling for the platform that he gives all of us. Whether he agrees with us or we agree with him, we have a place, and it is this radio station, KSCO 1080 and KOMY 1340, all across that Silicon Valley to Pebble Beach and La Salva Beach, Watsonville, Salinas, Monterey, Santa Cruz. God bless Michael Zwerling and his 70th birthday. All I can say is happy birthday, MZ. Thanks to Bo Hansen for being on the show with me today.
Oh, pleasure. It was a fun time.
It was a good time. And thanks to you, all you listeners out there in KSCO country. This radio station is really, it is your voice. We'll see you next time when I can sit in for Michael.